Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Frame.io Live. My name is Shawn, and I am a content producer for instructional media here at Frame.io. And we've got some fun stuff to talk to you about today. And we are going to talk about 5 tips to up-level your team collaboration. I really want to dig into the comments because I feel like that's a way where you can really improve on your communication with your creative teams. So before we actually jump into that, I do want to point out our chat that we have in our chat box here. So depending on where you're streaming from, whether it's from YouTube or on our watch page or even LinkedIn, go ahead and leave your questions or comments in the chat. We have some folks on the sidelines. They'll be able to answer those questions for you and, kind of help you along this journey here. I do like to throw it out to the audience where everyone's coming in from. We have a relatively small group, so this is going to be a really intimate conversation, but I'm chiming in from Los Angeles, California, and it is a nice, beautiful sunny day. It was a little cloudy yesterday, but it's nice that we got some sun today. I hope it's the same for all of you wherever you're at. So we've got Jenny tuning in from New York. Hi, Jenny. Thank you for saying hello. And this is a great opportunity for you to locate that chat box because this is a live environment. I want you to be able to throw in your questions. I'm definitely going to have some Q&A at the end, but as we're going along, I want to be able to answer these questions as we go. So if you're having some trouble spots, you're trying to figure out the best way to, figure out something, maybe there's a part of my discussion that you're a little confused on. Let's clarify that. So throw those comments in the chat. And I see some folks are still kind of trickling in, which is amazing. Welcome to the room, everyone. I was just reminding everyone that there is a chat box. If you are on our watch page, you will need to sign in to YouTube to leave your questions in there. But tell us where you're coming in from. I am from Los Angeles. So I'm hoping a couple little notes coming here as I'd like to do some shout outs. And if you're thinking about it too, and you're like, you know what, I want to learn about a particular thing. I want to know about how to do something in particular. I want to hear something industry related. We want feedback. We want to be able to create more content that you want to watch and see. So please throw in any feedback that you have. If there's other topics that you want us to cover, throw that in there. We can start making that happen for you. Awesome. Got a few people that jumped in there. We've got another New York. Love it. And we've got Wisconsin. Welcome, Wisconsin. And like I said, it's a relatively small group, so it's going to be nice and intimate. But if you have questions as I go along, do not be afraid. Let's go ahead and, let's throw those questions in there. So first off, I did kind of introduce myself, but I do want to say hello and officially say hi. My name is Shawn McDaniel, and again, I am a content producer for instructional media here at Frame.io. Now, I do want to go over a couple quick basics on what is Frame.io because we are broadcasting live to several outlets. So if you are familiar with Frame, I'm just going to do a quick little blurb on what Frame.io exactly is. So if you're just joining us, what is Frame.io? A lot of folks maybe have that question, and I want to clear that up for you. But Frame.io, in essence, is a creative central hub where you can invite all of your creative collaborators, your stakeholders into one environment where all of your creative assets can live. This goes for, of course, video and pictures, but also now your PDFs, your music files, even your your project files, any assets or media. You can use this to share it across your team, but also a really great advantage is being able to comment on those assets, leave annotations, and kind of clear up that feedback loop that we've all had trouble with in the past. And Frame.io provides that service. Now, we do have a robust web app, which I have here in the center of the screen. But that web app allows everyone around the world to have access to your Frame.io plan. These, of course, people that you invite to your projects. But this will allow anyone that's got access to your projects to be able to access this from anywhere around the world. And what's really cool is that it's mobile. So we've got an iOS app for both the iPhone and iPad. For enterprise users, you have the ability to stream those assets directly to your Apple TV. And we also have integrations with various NLEs. We're going to go over Premiere today, but we have integrations for Premiere, After Effects, Final Cut Pro 10, DaVinci Resolve. And you're also able to bring your comments in directly into Media Composer. So any avid users out there, we've got some support for you as well. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So when it comes to creating content, feedback is key to enabling your team to make the correct decisions on changes you specify, but also it allows you to cut back on how many times you go back and forth with your creative stakeholders when driving a project to completion. But just leaving a comment isn't always enough. And this is where this session today is really going to help you along this journey. So again, I want to go over the top 5 best tips to uplevel your comment techniques inside of Frame.io. Now, during this session, I'm going to go over all of these tips and show you directly inside of Frame.io how it's done. I also will leave some time at the end, as I said before, where we're going to be able to ask some questions and kind of dig into a little bit more if you want to. So amazing. Let's jump right in. So if you are a first time watching this, let me switch this out here. And if it's your first time watching or working with Frame.io, this isn't necessarily a secret tip, but I want to go over some of the basic commenting options and some of that comment navigation. So I'm going to pull up my screen here and let's jump into Frame.io. There we go. All right. So like I said, I want to touch on the basic functions of comments and how to actually navigate through those comments in the player page. And I'm going to do that to kind of start us off right here on this asset. So here's my Frame.io account. I've got all my assets within a project here, and I'm just going to jump over to one of these assets here. So I'm just going to double click on this video. And I've already got some comments added in there, but I'm not going to jump into that just yet. I want to go down here to the player page. So the first thing, let me remove this banner. So the first thing I want to point out is that the real key thing here about leaving comments on videos is that you could leave it at accurate time code. But time code it can vary in certain ways. You've got runtime, you've got source time code. We also got frames. And what's really cool is down here on the player, you can actually change what the view is on your time code. So if you actually want to just go standard, this is basically your runtime of the video. You can also change it to time code. And for our VFX folks in the audience, you can also change it to frames. A lot of times VFX people or artists really like to go off of frames because it's a little easier to navigate that in their applications. But what's really nifty about this tool, and I like pointing this out, is the fact is your comments will live update. So no matter what comment you leave, let's say you leave it under standard, if you want to change the way this looks and displayed, all of the previous comments that are in here will automatically update. And also, it'll change down here at the bottom as well. So I want to talk about this little box here, and I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. So this is where all the action is going to begin, and this is where you're going to be able to leave your comments. Now, before we actually start leaving comments, I do want to show you some options that you have here. So first off, this is where you can actually leave a time-coded stamp comment. Sometimes, though, you don't want to leave a time-coded stamp. You just want to leave kind of a general comment. Well, what you can do, this is on by default, but you can always uncheck that box if you wish to just leave kind of a general comment. But by default, this will be turned on. And again, it will relate to the setting that you have here at the top. The other one over here on the right is a really nifty one. This is an option where you can allow everyone to see your comments. This is only for folks that either have access to the account as a team member or collaborator, but also any users that you send a review link to. So this would be external stakeholders. They will be able to see these comments as well if you send them a link. Now, if you are working with a team or on a team plan, you've got other team members, and you want to have kind of a side private conversation with your other users on the account, you can actually change this to team-only comments. And it highlights in this yellow color. So only your team members will be able to take a look at this. So if you have collaborators on this project interacting with these assets, they will actually be able to even see these comments, same as your stakeholders. So if you're sending this out as a review link, they're not going to see these comments either. So this is a really great way for your team members and collaborators to coincide in a single environment, but still have a little line of separation between the two. But I want everyone to see my comments, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that on for the rest of the session. We've also got some other buttons here. Obviously, emojis are a huge part of our world, so we want to make sure we include that in our comments as well. And I'm going to go over this button in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out. Let's go ahead and leave a comment. So I'm going to turn this down so I don't blow any eardrums here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Okay, so I'm noticing that I want to make some adjustments here. So I've got this shot, and all I needed to do to actually pause this video was just start typing. Once I start typing, the video will pause, and the goal here is to let me complete my thought. So I'm going to go, I think there's like a lens flare. Can we remove this lens flare? Question mark. Boom. All right. So I see this little lens flare in here, but my team may not even be able to notice exactly what's happening here. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this comment for now. do. Well, I didn't mean to play that. All right, let's go back. Okay, so I left a comment. It does appear over here on the right-hand side. So I can click on those. It moves my playhead to where those were made. But, just leaving a comment may not be exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go and leave another comment. And I can actually delete this one because I'm going to leave a different one. But I want to go into more detail here. So I'm going to go, can we remove this flare? I'm going to do a question mark. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an annotation. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that little button there at the bottom. I know I said I was going to point that out, but there it is. That little button is going to allow me to choose a few of these options. So I've got a few things. I've got a little paintbrush tool. I've got an arrow. I've got a little shape mask, and I've got a line. So what I could do is I actually choose a color. I'm going to choose one that contrasts the colors that I have already in this. And I'm going to go and just choose that paintbrush tool. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom back out here. What I could do is I actually just draw right here on this screen. I hope that's a lens flare. I think it is. Yes, it is a lens flare. So what I could do is actually just draw right on that screen and pinpoint exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not limited to just leaving a hand-drawn note here. So I can actually leave an arrow, choose that red color. And if I want, I can actually be really passive-aggressive here and do a big red arrow and point that out, saying, let's go ahead and remove that lens flare. So, yeah, so now I have a comment with an annotation, and this really points out my team exactly where I'm trying to make this work. So this is that note there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send, and boom, now it's available. And if I click on that, my annotations and the time code will jump to exactly where that comment was made. So it's another actually type of comment that I can leave. And I want to show you this one really, really quickly, because I think this is actually one of my favorite features. And this is the ability to leave a range-based comment. So I'm going to jump a little further down the video here. So I think I actually want to remove this section of the clip. So I'm going to go ahead and go like, can we remove this shot? Now, one time code point isn't really going to help here, but if I want to, I can go ahead and actually drag my brackets left and right. So if I want, I can go ahead and drag it. Let's see, I'm going to remove this shot. Boop. And I'm going to drag the right side and go boop there. So now I've got a whole range that I can choose from. And it's kind of moving a little slower. So if I want, I can hold down shift and it'll allow me to be a little bit more precise with my movement here. So I can go right there. Boom. I want to go ahead and remove this shot. And what's going to happen if I hit send, this becomes a range-based comment. So now I have an actual range. Where did it go? There we go. So now you can see I have an in and out point for my comment. I've got a beginning and an end mark. Another really cool way for me to do this is if I'm playing my video as I'm going along. Let me hit escape here. As I play my video as I'm going along, I'm just going to kill the audio. If I'm playing this as I go, I can actually hit the I and O keys here. So if I hit I and O on the keyboard, this is another way for me to actually select those in and out points instead of me trying to drag those brackets left and right. So it's another quick little pro tip I like to show off there. Another little thing I like to add, especially for folks that are VFX artists, a lot of times if you're reviewing, a VFX shot, sometimes you like to loop that section. So with these I and O points, I can now actually loop that playback. I've got a little loop button down there next to the play button. And if I loop that and hit play, it'll actually play back just that range that I've selected. So if I'm looking at a particular shot and I want to repeat that a few times, if I'm checking for imperfections, I can use that. So it's kind of a little quick pro tip there. That way you've got a little bit of info. But yeah, that is a little bit on in and out points and kind of basic commenting and annotations. So over here on the right-hand side, I've got a few other things that I could choose from here. So like I said, I can click on the comment. It takes me where that comment was made. But I've got some other options here. So let me zoom in. So on each comment, I've got some options. I can reply. So if I want to reply directly to this, I can go ahead and type that in. I can leave a little thumbs up if I want to. I can also edit this comment. So if I want to go back in and say, you know what, I want to edit that comment, I can go ahead and click on that. I can change the comment. I can even change where that comment was made. So I've got some options there. And then on the end, I've got ability to delete comment. Now, don't panic. This is not available for everyone to do. This is going to be a team member only option. Same with edits. Edits only going to be available to the person that actually created that comment. So, if there's any questions on if there's any, somebody can go in and actually change that comment, no matter who they are, that doesn't matter. It's only based off the person that makes that comment that can change it. And team members are the only one that can delete comments. So you don't have to worry about your collaborators going in there or your stakeholders and deleting any messages that are important. Another thing I like to point out is, whenever you're working on a list of to-do items, it's really fun to be able to mark those as complete. So as I'm going along and I want to mark these comments as complete, I can go ahead and check mark that box and I can choose hide. And those completed comments will go away. And I can always toggle that on and off if I want to see what was completed or not. Now, another really great way to navigate through your comments is being able to sort them. So we've got some sort options available. Right now, I have it set to time code, but if I want to change it based on the commenter, on what's a completed comment, I can even filter them out by public or team-only comments. So I've got some options in here as well. Now, a lot of times projects can get really large and there's a lot of comments that end up in there. So what do you do to filter through a lot of these? Well, if you want to use that search comments bar right there at the top, I can actually type in some keywords. So let's say I want to type in flare. Well, it pulls up any comment that's got the word flare in it. And then any other corresponding word or messages that I put in this search bar at the top. It's a really great way for me to find comments that I'm looking for. And the next thing I want to go over really quickly before we jump into the next tip here is I've got this share button. So I've got all my comments in my project, but what do I do with those comments? So I leave them in here? Do I have to go back and refer to them every time? No, this is a great way for you to send these comments out so that you can include, maybe some other applications or things in it. So the first one I want to go over is being able to copy or paste comments. So it's a really quick and easy way. Let's say I'm uploading a new version of this asset and I want to copy these comments and then paste them to another asset. What I simply need to do is once again, choose copy comments, navigate to that other asset, open that asset up, hit that share button and choose paste. Now I can paste either all comments or comments that have not yet been completed. So that's another quick way for me to do that. If I want to move down the list here, I can also print out those comments. So it gives me this nice little chart, it gives me a thumbnail of where that comment was made, even includes the annotations there. This is a great way for you to archive your comments as well. So if you want to put these, in a folder somewhere, or maybe some old school folks like a printed out document, you've got that as an option in here as well. As we go further down the line, we've got CSV, XML, and plain text files that you can export as well. If you are using Final Cut Pro 10, we have the FJSON file and the FCP XML. Now, we do have an integration with Final Cut Pro 10. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go over that particular NLE today. I will be going over it in Premiere, but basically, there's a separate window that allow you to do your uploads and downloads directly inside of Final Cut Pro 10, but also leaves you the ability to sync your comments. Now, if you just simply want to bring your comments in, these two options are going to be the best ones for you. And again, this is for your support for Avid and Resolve. Resolve does have an integration as well. Once you export your file, but I'll go over that a little bit later, but you've got your Avid and Resolve options right here on the share menu. And I think that's everything that I've covered. I do want to show you really quickly that this works the same inside of Photos. So if I jump inside Photos, I can open up my what we call an image viewer inside of Frame.io here. And I've got some other tools that I can use. I can obviously zoom into my image. I can quickly fit the width, fit width and fit height. And even if I hit the loop tool here, I can hold down Shift. Let's say I want to get a good look at that earring there. I can just pop right into that image and see what I'm looking at through my loop tool. I also have this little mini map here, so I can actually navigate around the screen a little easier too. And it's another really great way to take a look at all the assets here. You can even do full screen. And what's really nice, I'm just going to do test comment. And if I leave an annotation here, I'm going to show you this really quickly, because this is actually a really cool new feature. So if I get the arrow there, I'm going to hit send. And let's do another one. I'll just do another test comment. I want to show you a really nifty feature here. So I'm going to do a different kind of annotation. And let's say I want to reframe this and hit send. This is a really cool feature, and this is pretty new. But there's a little button down here that you'll see, and it's called all annotations. And if I select that button, here's what happens. Come on, zoom out. If I hit that button, it'll allow me to see all the annotations that were made on this comments list. So if there's a bunch of comments and there's a bunch of annotations there, I could choose that button down there at the bottom and see them all at once. A lot of times photographers or, people working in post, working on photos, this is a really easy way for them to see all the notes in one place. So this is a nifty little tool here. So I love showing that off as well. All right. Now that we've kind of covered the basics, I do want to take it a little step further and show you how you can categorize your comments as you input them. And this is where our next tip, talking about hashtags, is going to come in handy. So we're going to talk about hashtags. All right. So I'm going to jump back over to that original asset. And I want to show you another way to leave comments here. So I'm going to jump into this folder here, and let's jump to this area. Now, as I'm leaving in my comment, I can say, let me make a note for the colorist. Can we actually love this? If I can type, love this color. Can we bump it up? Now, this is a specific color note. You can see here, I'm leaving a note for my colorist, but I actually want to be able to, filter this out and maybe leave a couple different comments here. So I'm going to do hashtag color, and let's say, I don't know. Let's say there's some VFX work that need to get done in there as well. So I can do hashtag color, hashtag VFX. I can add as many as I'd like. And I'm going to go ahead and send that comment. And I want to show you what this looks like. I want this to fit. I don't know why it's not working. I don't know whether my fingers aren't reacting to the computer. Let me just refresh real quick. Let's see if that changes anything. Perfect. Okay. Where is that comment? I'm just going to click on the screen here. All right. So I love this color. Can we bump it up a little bit? But you can see now, as I've got my hashtags in there, this is a really nifty way for me to actually just click on that hashtag. And now it brings up any other hashtag that's in my list. Now it did pull up color because it's putting it in my comments list here. But I can easily search for these hashtags, or I can even click on them and it'll filter them right here at the top. So it's a really great way for me to actually work with different departments, different teams. If you have VFX, if you have color, maybe even sound, and you're going through your color or your pass on that asset, and you want to really target different departments, this is a really, really great way for you to do that. So that is hashtagging. There's another thing I think I wanted to go over with that. Another really cool thing too is you can also, where was it? Shoot. Oh, you can also leave URLs. Sorry. You can leave links if you want to. So if I go in here and I want to leave a link in here, so let's just go to like Frame.io. If I want to leave a link, I can actually do that as well. So if I want to actually just paste in a link, I can hit send. And it's actually a clickable link that you can click on there. So if you want to reference something, let's say, hey, I'm trying to go for a particular look. Here's a mood board that's on the web. I could go ahead and actually just drop in that link. So I wanted to include that in there as well. Pro tip. I'm kind of discovering these as I go along. But yeah, pro tip there. All right, so hashtags are a great way to filter by department or trigger a note for a specific team. And like I said, you can also add multiple hashtags to a single comment to address multiple teams at once. So I'm going to stay on this page, but I want to take this a step further because we have another tip that I want to show off. And at mentions is a great way to target a specific person to a task needed to make that change on an asset. So this is where tip number 3, at mentions, will come in handy. So if I'm actually trying to leave a comment, let me remove this. If I'm actually trying to leave a comment on an asset, I can go, did we pull the mood board for this shot? And I'm just going to at mention, let's see, I've got, let's put in Cherry Blossom. And now Cherry Blossom's not in the project. What it'll do is it'll invite Cherry. If I actually go through with entering in this at mention, it'll bring in Cherry into the conversation. But if I want, I could even go through my list and see who is not in the project, actually. I don't think I have a lot of people in this project. Oh, Ryan's in it. So I can go and hit that. And now Ryan is actually mentioned in this comment here. And if I actually hit send, he's probably going to get a notification and be like, what is going on here? So what's really cool is that I can go right in here and go Ryan. And if Ryan comes back in, he'll be able to reply to that comment. And now we can actually keep this feed in here. Now, if Ryan responds, he can also mention somebody else and go, hey, like this is actually that person, and mention them that in there. Now, this is a quick and easy tip, but this one is really handy if you're trying to involve a specific person into the conversation. Let me check the comments here. That's a great question, actually. The question was from Dustin, how to respond to comments on my phone. That's actually a really great question. I'm going to pull up the app here. So I'm saying I love these kind of questions as they pop up because we can try and answer them in the moment. And I don't remember specifically if there was a way. I'm trying to find an asset that I've got notes on. Stand by. Let's see. I think this one might have some. Nope. Maybe this one. Let me look. I'm going to throw this note into our staff here on the sidelines and see if they can look that up really quickly. Are you able to look that up really fast? That's actually a really great question. I believe there's a way to do it. I haven't done it in a while, so forgive me for let's see. Let me log into this account. And this is going to be okay. Sorry, I had to log into a different account, so that's why it's taking me just a moment. Okay, here we go. Yeah, actually, I don't know why I thought this was more difficult than I thought. So yeah, if you're actually in the iOS app, if you select on a comment, there is a reply button in there. So you do is just tap on reply, and then you should be able to leave that comment in there. Let me know, Dustin, if you're not seeing that on your end, because that definitely should be how to do it. Now, if you're doing it through a browser, sometimes on the browser on a mobile device, it can be a little wonky. So I hope that button's there. But let me know if you're still running into that issue, Dustin. But I appreciate your question, and keep those questions coming in. All right. We talked about hashtags. Now, like I said, that was a simple note, but it's insanely effective if you're trying to target a specific person. All right, so let's jump into let's get out of this web app and let's jump into something a little bit more robust here. So stakeholders can really take advantage of the web app experience, and the web app is exactly what we're looking at here. And they can take advantage of that experience just as much as the creative in the review process. But our commenting tools do not just limit you to stay within the browser. Now, I do want to take you inside of Premiere Pro. Sorry about that. I do want to take you inside of Premiere Pro integration and show you how the creative user can be involved in this, but stay within their creative tool to preserve the creative process. Now, this takes us to our fourth tip, and that is NLE integrations. Now, due to time, I'm only going to be able to do this demo inside of Premiere Pro, but this functionality, again, exists within After Effects. It's virtually the same exact panel. But we also have it inside of Final Cut Pro 10 as well. So if you download the Mac app in the Mac App Store, you'll be able to use the Frame.io extension inside of Final Cut Pro 10. Now, like I said before, we do have an integration with Resolve that will allow you to import your comments back and forth automatically after you export your sequence to Frame.io from the Resolve application. You will need a paid version of Resolve to accomplish this, but I'm always happy to answer any questions on that at the end of our session. But for now, let's jump into Premiere and show you how it's done. So let's move that web browser out of the way, maybe this way. And boom, now we're inside of the Premiere application. And I've got a sequence pulled up that I've already created. Once I've got that sequence created or set up, I can then open up my Frame.io panel. Now, I'm not going to go over the whole panel here. I just want to go over the commenting process. But if you are in Premiere and you want to know how to open it, go ahead and head over to Window. You can go ahead and choose Review with Frame.io, or you can choose the Review workspace. Either or will pull up that panel. Now, once it's pulled up and you're logged in, you'll be able to access your projects very similarly as you do inside of Frame.io. And what's really cool is that not only am I able to obviously upload and download assets inside of this window, I can actually go in and review my files directly inside of Frame. And since it's built in to Premiere, I can actually undock this panel. I can move it to a separate monitor if I want to. I can even move it anywhere I want inside of the application. If I just click and drag it, I can move it anywhere I want because it's built in directly into Premiere. So if I want to, I can actually open up an asset and I could view any existing comments that are in here. I believe there's some. There's one down at the end. I thought there was more comments in here. Yeah, there's 12. Maybe they're team only comments. Oh, there they are. Yeah, so I can go in here and I can actually do my comments. I could do my annotations as well. And again, our emoji button, we've got that available. So I could do my commenting process in here. I'm going to go, this shot looks great, because it does. And I can leave some annotations. You know, my options are there. I can reframe it. I can even add some other items in there. And I can go ahead and hit send, and those pop in, and they will immediately populate. Oops. They can immediately populate inside of Frame.io, but it's available right here inside of my panel. So this is a quick way for me to actually do comments and everything I need to do inside of Premiere without asking my editor to leave and go to a web browser or go onto an iOS app and further along. But let me go ahead and show you something really cool. So I want to show you how dynamic our comments can actually be. So what I'm going to do is I've got this finished sequence here. Now I'm going to choose in and out point because that'll save us a little time on export. But I want to address some notes inside of the sequence itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect everything on the sequence. I'm going to go ahead and add a marker. Now it's important for me to notate that I need to add a marker, but make sure I leave my comment under the comments box, not under name. So if you have done this before and you've done it under name, it's not going to work. You want to do it inside of comments. And again, I'm going to say I have some other takes of this. Basically, as an editor, I'm letting the stakeholder or producer know that, hey, I've got some other takes in case you don't like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So now it appears on a marker on my timeline. Let's go ahead and go further down. And I'm going to go ahead and hit marker twice. I want to show you. I keep hitting that button there. I'm going to hit marker twice once again. Go under comments. And I'm going to do a segment marker here. But let's go ahead and do maybe we can adjust the colors to match. But I want to leave a duration here. So I'm actually just going to drag this little option here, and I'm going to make a segment marker. And this is really cool because now I can go in and I've got my snap tool on, so I can just go ahead and snap this to that single shot. Now I've made a segment marker, and what that segment marker is going to do is going to appear as a range-based comment inside of Frame.io. So at this point, I'm ready to export, and I want to go ahead and navigate to the folder I want to export to. I'm going to choose upload. And it takes my sequence name. All the settings look good. But the big button I want to make sure I check off here is that it's export markers as comments, because I've left markers on my timeline. So let's go ahead and choose upload, and let's show you what happens. So Media Encoder actually does the encoding process. This doesn't happen inside of Premiere. This allows you to be able to still work within Premiere and let Media Encoder kind of do all the heavy work. Now, since it was a small file, it did upload really fast, but you could see here the comments that were on my timeline actually appear inside of this asset, which is really, really cool. So if I double click on this, I can now play that asset if I want to. Let me actually turn it down. And I can play that asset back, and boom, there it is. And if I want to see those comments made, I can go ahead and just click on those comments. If I want, I can actually minimize that window. And now I've got my two comments right inside of here. And what's really cool is my sequence is matched. So if I click on each comment, it moves my playhead not only inside of my frame folder, but also on my project timeline. This happens automatically once you export a project here. Now, here's a really nifty feature, and I'm going to do this on my phone to help with Dustin's question earlier, is I want to I'm going to leave a comment. Let's say I have a stakeholder that's somewhere else, and they're like, you know what? I want to leave some comments. I got a notification that there's a new asset available for me to look at. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play this other person, and I'm going to leave a comment that says looks great. I'm literally hitting send. I want you to watch that screen. I'm going to hit send here. Boop. Did it send? No. Send. And there it is. Instantaneous. It appears right inside of my Frame.io project. This correlates to the web app as well. So the minute I click on it, boom, it's there. And I've got a lot of the same buttons as well. Reply, thumbs up. I can also delete and reply to that comment or and edit that comment. I can even mark it as complete. But here's the big kicker. If I'm working offline and I want to be able to bring this comment back onto my sequence, well, since my sequence is linked to the Frame.io asset, I can click on that arrow and choose import comments. Watch that timeline down there. Boop, that marker just popped in. And if I double click on it, I can see who made that comment, what the comment was, and a little timestamp of where it's at. And that is, I can hover over it too. And that is how you leave your comments back and forth inside of Frame.io. So this is, or inside of Premiere Pro using the Frame.io panel. I think that's everything I wanted to cover on that. Add markers to sequence, export sequence. Yeah, that's it. So like I said, I'm just showing off the commenting features, but the panel offers so much more. But I really wanted to showcase the tools for commenting because on its own, it offers so much. And like I said, it really keeps your editor in context. And I think that's the really important thing. So let's go ahead and talk about the next feature. So I'm going to go back to the web app here. And the next feature is probably one of my favorites because the biggest reason is that it includes so much more than just video and pictures in the review process. We can include more teams in the mix with the new compare versions with comments feature. So that's going to be our fifth and final feature today. So new feature, compare versions with comments. So I'm going to break something down for you. So version stacking is a great tool to keep your project organized. And version stacking is simple as this. If I have, let's say, these 3 different assets, but they're of the same project or edit, I can actually drag these assets on top of each other. And I'm just dragging the new on top of the old. That's a new on top of the old. And I'm creating something called a version stack. And let me refresh. I keep switching contexts. I think it's getting, my internet's a little wonky today, I think. Let's try that again. Old version on top of the new version. Let's let that figure out what it wants to do. Interesting. I might need to clear my cache. Let's see if that works. What is going on? New version on top of the old. Let's try with a photo. Well, what's going on with that asset? New version on top of the old version. Interesting. It might be my cache. Let me know if you guys are seeing the same issue on your ends if you're working inside of Frame. But anyway, let me refresh that. Interesting. Anywho, so like I said, version stacking is a great tool to keep your project organized by stacking these assets on top of each other. If you're going back and forth on revisions on the same edit, this really cleans up your project. So you don't have like a bunch of different thumbnails of the same thing happening over and over. You can actually stack those on top of each other to keep your project a little organized. Now, the only way before to be able to compare versions was that your asset needed to be version stacked, and it didn't include comments before until now. So like I said, let's look at our fifth and final tip, comparing assets with comments. So I'm not going to actually do that for a video source. I want to show you in the PDF environment because we've actually improved our PDF, multi-page PDF environment really well. So what I can do is instead of me actually doing a version stack, I'm actually just going to select both of these files. And inside of the 3 dots here, I can go ahead and choose compare assets. And this is really neat because inside of compare assets, I can actually see these side by side. I can toggle each one. I can even open up a table of contents here, which we didn't have before. You used to be able to just kind of navigate by hitting the arrow up and down on your page. And if I click on, let's say I'm on the right side, I can click on page 4. And on this one, I can click on page 4 and I could see the differences in these 2 images. Now, since we're inside of the image viewer, I've got all the same features I had before. I can zoom in and out. So, and it matches pixel by pixel on each side. So as I'm zooming in, it'll match on the other side as well. I can even jump to a page quickly if I want to. But this is where I can leave my comments. So I can go like, I love the left shot. Actually, I love this shot better because I'm actually looking at the left side. So I'm going to go, I love this shot better. But I can click on this one and I can go, but I love the color here. Boom. And now as I send a comment to each one, I could see each one side by side. So I can click back and forth. I could see the different comments. And like I said, each side I can change the page. So I can go, all right, well, what's it going to look like from page 5 to page 6, depending on which side I'm looking at. I can see if there's any similarities in my assets, or if there's something I'm trying to avoid by having these pages side by side. This is a really great way for me to kind of be in this one environment. But it includes not just my video and stills folks. I can now include my marketing teams, my legal teams, and all that to review these assets directly inside of Frame side by side. And like I said, I've got all the same tools available in my image viewer. And it's really cool is I can actually hide my comments as well. So if I want to hide or show comments, I could just toggle that on or off. So this is actually one of my favorite features to use right here on Frame. Now, this compare assets feature can be used across all media types, including video, photos, PDFs, and audio files. So you're not just limited to doing multi-page PDFs. You can go in and do audio files. So if I want to select two side by side, I can click on compare assets. And I can A and B the audio that I'm listening to, and I can leave comments directly on audio files. And I don't have to compare versions to leave comments. I can do it on a single file as well if I want to. So if I want to just open up this one file, I can go ahead and leave comments at the particular time code that's available. So that is that's it. That's the 5 tips on how to up-level your comments and improve your team collaboration. Now, I know we went over a lot, and I think we may have sparked some questions from my audience. I do see a little red dot there that lets me know that maybe some folks left some questions. So let me go ahead and take a look. And I don't think there's actually any questions that popped in. Lots of thank yous, and markers are a game changer. Love hearing that. But I do want to open up the floor if there are any questions that come in. We are getting close on time, so I'm going to make sure that I leave that time for you all to go over any Q&A notes. So any questions from anyone in the audience? If not, I will let everyone go. But before we get to the end of this, if you're looking to learn more about Frame.io, go ahead and scan that QR code located on the screen. And this will directly take you to our sales team where you can inquire about increasing your plan limits and what more Frame.io can offer you. So I'll give everybody a few moments. If you want to actually scan that QR code to take you to our sales team, start a chat, say hello to us, leave your email, and we can get in contact with you at a more convenient time if that's necessary. But there it is. Let me know if you need me to bring it back up. But as I mentioned earlier, we do want feedback on our sessions because we want to create content that's relevant to you. So we do have a survey that you can fill out as well. We want to create sessions that you use and learn from, and this survey will help us do just that. So please fill it out, include any ideas for the comment you want to see, and maybe even leave comments on what we can improve and change on this session as well. And like I said, thank you so much. Be sure to check back to Frame.io Live Hub by tuning into frame.io/live. Throw that up on the screen. We have sessions posted on a regular basis, so please check back frequently. And I do want to check the chat here really quickly. We did have a question that come in. I don't want to leave you hanging. Let's answer it. So when you mark on the screen with the pen, does that embed on the video or just leave that note? That's a great question. So that will only live in the Frame.io environment, or if you bring that into, let's say, After Effects, you'll be able to bring in those annotations. Same with Final Cut Pro 10. But those don't live on the asset itself. Those stay inside of the environment. So for example, if you use the commenting feature inside of After Effects, what it'll do is it'll create a shape layer inside of your project or inside of your comp that you can always toggle on or off. So it's not embedded into your video. And if you actually download your video from Frame.io, let me see, I'll show you. If I actually choose download inside of here and I've got a bunch of annotations, those are not going to follow it. They don't burn onto your asset at all. It only lives in the environment that allows you to view those annotations as a layer or as kind of an overlay, but it's never burned onto your video. But that is a great, great question. Thank you for asking. Any other questions that pop in at all? No, no worries. All right. Well, once again, I do want to say a big thank you. And again, why is this? What am I doing here? I do want to say a big thank you. And thank you again for joining us on Frame.io Live. And we hope to see you again soon on another broadcast. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you later. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.